Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 89 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. Coming up on today's show, we will look back at the wild weekend that was at Martinsville. As we know, the championship Ford now, between Christopher Bell getting the win, Ross Chastain and his insane move that we'll get to here in just a second, along with Chase Elliott also making it and Joey Logano. We'll also look ahead to the season finale at Phoenix this weekend. We'll dive into the Xfinity Championship, as well as Ty Gibbs getting involved with his teammate Brandon Jones last week. All of that and more. Our news and notes segment, as well as our Ask David segment, coming up at the end of today's show. Let's Go Racing with David Starr is presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter came aboard as the primary sponsor this year in David's 08 Ford Mustang. And we want to tell you a little bit more about what they do. TicketSmarter is a national ticket resale marketplace with tickets to over 125,000 live events, including NASCAR and other forms of motorsports. Fans can get tickets to every NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck race throughout the season. For the best deals on tickets, visit TicketSmarter.com to get your tickets today. That's TicketSmarter.com. David Starr joins us right now. David, what a weekend, huh? I mean, let's put it this way. I'll let you decide. Where do we want to start with so much to dissect from Martinsville? Where do we go first?
Man, Martinsville did not disappoint, man. It lived up to its reputation, its name, and wow, man, there was so much action, so much going on at Martinsville. It's the whole world's talking about it, you know what I mean? But man, what a great weekend of racing. I mean, all of us around the world saw something that we just can't really comprehend it and believe it, but it happened. And but man, it's just a great weekend. Let's say hello to Dominic first, and then we'll dive off into Martinsville. There's a lot to talk about.
Dominic Aragon of the RacingExperts.com joins us. Dom, have you had a chance to breathe a minute? I mean, just everything that went down. I mean, that was a lot for 48 hours between Cup and Xfinity both.
Oh, big time. You're not just talking my personal life, right? Which we'll get to in a bit. Oh my gosh, there's so many great things going on. So much chances to not breathe yet. But that Martinsville race weekend, dude, so cool. I can tell you, seeing Ross Chastain make that move, and which I know we're going to talk about in a minute, but that move had been perfected in video games. I remember trying a move like that in some NASCAR racing simulating games, qualifying, so never in a race, and much less in an actual event. So really cool to see that. And I think it was definitely a nod to sim racers and to virtual racers. Like, wow, that move actually does work in real life.
Yeah. David, let's look at that. The move Ross Chastain made, he had to do it. That was his only shot to make the playoff based on where he was positioned on the track. And I mean, I've never seen that before. We've never seen anything like that. It is straight out of a video game. David, have you ever seen anything like that remotely close to that? That was unbelievable.
Man, that was spectacular. It was awesome. It was unbelievable. You know, there's so many adjectives to describe what Ross Chastain. That was probably one of the top three biggest moments in our sport since NASCAR was created in 1948, 1949. I think that ranks up there with the 1979 Daytona 500 duel at the end with David Pearson and Richard Petty. That move that Ross Chastain made to make the chase in 2022 will be talked about 50 years from now. It was just insanely crazy. But man, unbelievable. You know, I know we all saw it, and we all saw it. It didn't even look real. You know what I mean? But man, just brilliant on his part. I think it's awesome. I've seen recently Kyle Larson try it at Darlington. I don't know if it was 2 years ago or this past year. He was having a duel with Denny Hamlin right at the end of the race. I seen him kind of try that move and unsuccessfully. And I saw Carl Edwards do it years ago at Kansas Speedway. Unfortunately, The way he hit the wall, there was too much damage to the car, but he tried to go wide open and just ride the wall. But man, Ross Chastain perfected it. I can't imagine, racing all those years and having to win at Martinsville. I can't imagine going down the back straightaway and shifting into a higher gear and just taking your hands off the steering wheel and just saying, damn it, I'm going for it, and just floor it and riding the wall to turns 3 and 4 and being 2 seconds quicker on that lap. You gain 2 seconds in one corner is just unheard of. But man, I love what Trackhouse and Ross Chastain have done in 2022. It was a Hail Mary and it worked. The whole world is talking about it. It was on Good Morning America. It was on Sunday Night Football. I'm happy for their team. I'm excited for our sport. And guys, that we got a lot of new eyes that are looking into NASCAR and looking what's going on in our cool sport of NASCAR auto racing. So I think everything about it was pretty awesome.
And Tyler, I got to tell you too, man, being from a state that really doesn't have motorsports, we're not breeding grounds for NASCAR any stretch of the imagination. But the last few days of this early part of the week, Tyler, so many people have been talking about it. So many people have been asking me about it. Like, whoa, tell me about that. What happened in that race? I mean, people that would otherwise not be watching NASCAR here in the land of enchantment are talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken the internet by storm. And when I saw it the first time, because I was actually doing NFL coverage when it happened, I didn't see it live. And a buddy of ours, Matt Jennings, sends it to me. And I looked at that. I'm like, what is this? I mean, it was like, huh? Is this even real? And everyone's sharing it. Just all over the place, this thing. And, Dominic, you mentioned the video game thing. You and I, we've been playing racing games our whole life. That's always been the cheat, right? We'll just tear up the car, ride the top, and go as fast as we can and, win the race that way. And then to see it actually happen in real life, I mean, that was unbelievable. I mean, Ross Chastain, it has been the year of Ross Chastain, right? He has taken the NASCAR scene by storm, for better or for worse. But I think it's been more good than bad. Some people might have a different answer, but I like Ross for the better personally. And to me, I know that there's still a week left in the season, but this could not be a more perfect ending for the season of Ross Chastain, of a perfect description for how much he's just kind of taken the NASCAR scene by storm this year, Dom.
And I think you said it best there. And I loved hearing back his interview saying about it. He wasn't sure if it was going to work or not. And then he brought up a great point too. And I'm glad nothing happened, because it could have been a really bad situation. I've never been to Martinsville. Tyler, I don't know if you have. I know, Dave, you've been there plenty of times. But that gate that opens, I believe, in turn 4 to allow the haulers in and out. Ross Chastain said he was scared about catching on there, if I remember correctly. And thankfully nothing happened with that. But that could have been very disastrous real quick too. But looking back on it, and Jeff Burton talking about it on the broadcast too, breaking it down, how it looks like the car is just moving in fast motion, but it's normal speed. It was just, I think, so much for the mind to comprehend. David, it was kind of like an optical illusion.
It kind of was. You just can't believe what you're seeing, but the car went through the corner so fast. Obviously you use a lot of braking. Most of us saw the race, there at Martinsville, man, you're always fighting the center of the corner, trying to get your car to rotate, turn in the center. And especially as you're burning off the fuel and your tires are wearing out, and the guy that can get his car to cut the best, turn the best, or rotate the best, I mean, he's going to cut underneath you and really get a run underneath you off the corners. But man, to see Ross Chastain go down the back straightaway, I can't imagine, when you make that decision where, hey, I'm going down the back straightaway, and it's about time to hit the brake, and you just hit the gas pedal harder and go wide open and shift into 5th gear and just go for it, man. It's just mind blowing. to think that somebody would do that, try it, and it worked as well as it worked. But man, it was to pass 5 cars in one corner at Martinsville. That's never been done before. You know what I mean? It has in a wreck. If somebody wrecks and, you pass 4 or 5 cars, they're spinning out and wrecking or whatever. But in competition where everybody's racing their tails off and you just pass them on the outside 5 spots, it's just, it's hard to fathom that. But we saw it live on television, and I'm kind of like Tyler. I wasn't watching the race live. You know what I mean? I DVR'd it and was going to watch it later that night. And next thing you know, I had 20 missed phone calls. I'm like, man. So I finally called a person back, say, hey, what's up? They said, man, what's your thoughts? What do you think? What that nuts? And I'm like, well, hey, time out here. You talking about the race? I said, yeah. I said, well, don't tell me. They said, oh, no, you got to go watch it right now. You know what I mean? You got to go watch it right now. But I really didn't see it until late that night. And, you're thinking with 3 or 4 laps to go that, somebody's going to spin out, something crazy going to happen. And then I'm like, man, what are they talking about? Here they are taking the white flag. I ain't seen anything yet. And then, oh, my God. I mean, it's just like you said, like you guys said, it's so surreal, it's almost looks fake, but it's just to go that fast compared to the others was just amazing, and I felt bad for my buddy Denny Hamlin. I mean, I've been good friends with him for years, and there's people that love him, there's people that hate him, and to come off turn 2, coming to the checker flag, knowing that you're probably in the chase, you go into turn 3 and your team's telling you, hey, you're in the chase. And all of a sudden you come off turn 4 and your spotter's outside, and it's Ross Chastain. I mean, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard to comprehend that. And he was just like the look on his face. He still, when they showed him on television, leaning up against his car, he was still in shock. It was just hard to comprehend what had just happened. You know what I mean? And the way it happened, it's like, how did this happen? And I can only imagine if I was racing behind Ross and seeing what he was doing. Hell, I was like, man, I would have been like, wow, you know what I mean? It would have been incredible to be running behind him and see that. But man, unbelievable. Like I said earlier, I believe that's going to be probably one of the top 3 or 5 biggest things that ever happened in our sports. And our sport's been existing since 1949. I mean, can you guys think of anything else that has been that big, that's gotten so much notoriety? It's just amazing what he accomplished, how he accomplished it, and the visibility around the world and everybody that's seen it. I mean, when you show that on Sunday Night Football and NFL games, you break in and show what happened in the NASCAR race that day. That's a pretty big deal, Then you see it on Good Morning America the next day, and all the sports talk shows are talking about it. It's really put our sport in the spotlight. And whether Ross Chastain wins a championship or finishes 4th or whatever, Tyler, I believe it has been the year of Ross Chastain. I mean, whether you like it or not, he's exciting. He's brought a lot of spice back into the sport, and he's probably pissed off a lot of drivers along the way. But man, he's made it exciting and brought a lot of new eyes to it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and not everybody liked what happened there. We saw Kyle Larson call it an embarrassment to the sport. I'm like, Kyle, get off my lawn. That was a great moment. I thought I was entertaining and just badass. And so going forward with this, we won't spend a whole lot more time on this. We'll move on here in just a second. But I want to ask you, David, do you think, is that something you would do? Or do you think other drivers will do this type of now? Does this open up the floodgates a bit to try to do this type of thing that Kyle that Ross just pulled off here, or is this kind of a once in a lifetime deal?
Well, it was a Hail Mary, you know what I mean? Fourth quarter, 2 seconds left on the clock. You know, you're
It was a Hail Mary from the 1 yard line. He threw a 99-yard touchdown.
It's unbelievable, you know what I mean? And it's interesting to hear different competitors of ours opinion on it, you know what I mean? I loved it because obviously it showcased our sport to the world. It brought new eyes to our sport. It is a Hail Mary, and man, it's racing's expensive. It's a business, sponsors, it costs a lot of money. But from Ross Chastain, if he wins the championship, finishes fourth compared to fifth, not being in the Final Four, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money at stake here, and what he did was brilliant. And kind of tearing up a race car to make it happen. It was worth it. You know what I mean? But you bring up a good question. Will we see rule changes in the future? And it's kind of I don't know. You said Kyle Larson said it's embarrassment. I don't really think it is an embarrassment. It's just hard racing and somebody just trying to outsmart the competition, and hey, it worked. But to say that we're going to see rule changes and we may, will we see this again or not see it again? I hope we do. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody could perfect that move any better than Ross Chastain. I think he set the standard, and I think it's going to be hard for anybody to perfect it. But I don't know why anybody, how many people are going to have that opportunity? The last race of, the second race going into a championship weekend, and you're just 2 points behind the guy in front of you to be in the top four. In that situation, maybe we will, maybe we won't, but I hope NASCAR, my opinion is I hope they just kind of let it be, you know what I mean? Because, it's really the cost of the teams. When you're wrecking a car that bad, and if it doesn't work, the expense of it, you know what I mean? But golly, the excitement, and just, I don't know. I don't think they need to change anything. What's y'all's thoughts?
Dom, I'll say this. We were talking about the racing side, that we've done this video games and all that, our whole lives. I didn't realize this. I guess that move is banned in iRacing.
Really? I did not know.
Yes.
Not NASCAR racing season. Not what we sim raced, but wow, in iRacing it's banned.
Yes. Maybe they might
amazing.
have to change up the rules to iRacing now.
I think so. I want to say Jeff Gluck had tweeted this out possibly on Tuesday, that imagine the 4 drivers that are competing for the championship, and this is probably going to take across the board in Xfinity and truck. There was a driver, it said, who's not to say somebody tries it at Phoenix and it could work, but Jeff Gluck had tweeted out, friend of the show, that what are the chances that they're telling the drivers in the simulator this week, hey, shift it into gear 5, Phoenix, mash the gas, hope for the best in the wall, let's see how it does in the simulator. Can imagine that's probably part of the game plan for this weekend.
Yeah, and then iRacing, suspends their account for it. Yeah.
Well, man, there's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
And the way the wall is in turns 3 and 4 at Phoenix, even turns 1 and 2. I wouldn't be surprised to see it again. If you're running 5th and somebody's running 4th, and if you don't pass them, the 4th place guy is going to be the champion. Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah.
It's possible. It is possible that we might see this maneuver again this weekend in one of the 3, whether it be the Camping World Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, or the Cup race. It's possible because of the way the racetrack's laid out and how the walls are. it ain't like there's, really no 90-degree sharp bends in a turn. And you're looking at the turns there at Phoenix. It's possible it could happen again. Y'all bring up a good point, but man, I don't know. I just think the whole thing is cool. It was amazing. And,
Yeah.
I'm still kind of shocked that it happened, but man, unbelievable. Good for Ross Chastain. Nobody gave this kid, he wasn't a privileged kid. He worked for everything he ever gotten, driven race cars that shouldn't have been, finishing in the top 15. He put them in the top 15. He earned everything he's gotten. And, man, I'm so glad for him, and good for him and his racing team. And hopefully they'll come out of Phoenix being a champion. Who knows?
So let's talk about each driver in the championship 4 here. Let's run through them real quick. Let's start with Christopher Bell. Wins last week at Martinsville. He's had a really good playoff run. His regular season was good, but he's really kicked it into gear the last couple of weeks in a very fine performance there at Martinsville. Dom, Christopher Bell, tell me about him. I mean, the way that he's raced as of late, I mean, he's running at championship level right now.
Oh, he certainly is. Even when you look back at the regular season, finishing top 10 more often than not. Adam Stevens, veteran crew chief, a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series crew chief, winning title crew chief with Kyle Busch, now atop the box with Christopher Bell. There's experience there. And Christopher Bell, guys, think about this. In this era that we've had this playoff format, the Cup Series since 2014, trucks and Xfinity since 2016, Christopher Bell is the only driver to qualify for the championship 4 in each of the National Touring Series by making the Cup Series Final 4 this weekend, or championship 4. I think that speaks volumes to how consistent Christopher Bell is in whatever vehicle he is racing, and this Cup Series is no exception. He's had 2 walk-off wins in the playoffs this year. Who's not to say he could do it again on Sunday?
Yeah, and David, based on the tracks that he's run well at, there's no reason to think why that he can't compete and possibly win this whole dang thing on Sunday in Phoenix.
Yeah, something comes to mind, and it's called momentum. You know what I mean? If one team's got the momentum and hitting their stride or at the right time, God, it'd be hard to bet against Christopher Bell. It's what they have done the last 4 or 5 races. It's just incredible, and you see his performance, and you think of Joey Logano and Chase Elliott and even Ross Chastain. It's hard. It'd be hard to bet against Christopher Bell because, God, man, guys, here the last 4 or 5 races. I mean, and like you said, all year he's had a lot of speed, but man, in these playoffs, he's just come to the forefront quick. Winning the Charlotte Roval, winning here at Phoenix. At Martinsville. I mean, it's where else does he want at? I mean, it's just amazing. They're just hitting their stride at the right time. And man, you talk about moment, riding the momentum into the championship weekend. It's like they can do no wrong, And
the only Gibbs car left, they're going to throw everything they can to put him in the best position to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. You take all the resources and the engineering and technology and the knowledge of that whole organization. I'm sure they're pulling all the resources and knowledge from everybody's coming together to make sure that Joe Gibbs Racing will have another championship. But man, it's going to be a hell of a race, and going to be exciting, and it's going to be we're all going to be on the edge of our seats watching it to see who's going to be our 2022 champion. That's for sure.
Chase Elliott, he's been the most consistent driver all season long, more wins than any driver this year with 5 total. He's won at Phoenix to win the championship before just 2 years ago. And Dom, this is a guy as well that he's had his back against the wall in this playoff and came through in some big time moments. Despite the momentum of Christopher Bell, I think Chase Elliott still has to be the favorite going into this weekend.
Well, and I think you have to take a look at experience too. Yeah, all these guys are professional. They've been put in situations with their backs up against the wall. But Chase Elliott has certainly had that across his career in the Cup Series, pulling off the big wins when it counts. He did have that walk-off win in 2020 to advance from the Martinsville race to the Championship 4, winning the title that year. And this is his third Championship 4 appearance, his third straight, I might add, too. And while his team's not in it for the owner's points, they're still in it with the driver's points. Man, who's not to say Chase Elliott could go out, win the race, Kyle Larson finished second, and Hendrick Motorsports still gets the owner's title anyway.
That's an interesting scenario here. And David, we kind of talked about that last week. There's no reason to think that 5 team is going to back down. They're going to do everything they can to still try to go out there and win this race and win that owner's title.
Dude, nobody's going to back down. I mean, you can see the fire. I sure when Denny when it just kind of settles in, he's the frustration of being so close so many times and not being able to get that championship. He's going to go to Phoenix to win. You know what I mean? And all of them are. I mean, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski had a good run there in Martinsville. This is going to be a war of a race. You know what I mean? We're talking about these championship contenders, but man, I don't think anybody's going to move over for them. I mean, it's possible that we could see our champion finish, over the years, our champion for that year usually wins the race, the last race of the season, but this year, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if our champion is not the winner of the race. You know what I mean? Just because how great and how good the racing's been. But, Dominic brought up a good point. Chase Elliott's always been really strong. You think about drivers that have been really strong at Phoenix. I think of Kyle Larson and I think of Chase Elliott. You know what I mean? The one, but Christopher Bell, to me, the momentum and just that team's been on fire, but you can never, ever count out Chase Elliott like we're talking about. I mean, he's always a threat and he runs good there at Phoenix. And man, you're talking about a Hendricks organization. You know what I mean? I think, like Gibbs, they're going to throw everything at freaking Chase Elliott. Hendricks, they want to bring that championship back to Hendrick Motorsports.
We say that, but you'd think that resources are going to be split pretty good between him and Larson, with Larson going for the owner's title. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Kind of interesting, but I think your champion, your driver champion. You
think that's more important to Rick getting Chase the driver title than the 5 team the owner's title?
I really think it is. Really, I think it is because it showcases your organization. It showcases your team, your teams, and it showcases Chase Elliott's ability, the team, that 24 team, not 24, number 9 team. Yeah, I'm sorry. But I think, if when it came down to it, which one carries the most weight, I'd have to say that the drivers' championship deal. What's your guys' thoughts on that? I mean, they won.
Well, to add to that, David, I think exactly what you're saying. Dominic would probably agree here. I mean, in all honesty, unless you are just a nerd, can any of us name the owners' titles in the Xfinity series the last 10 years? But we all could name the drivers' champions probably. I mean, you talk about the publicity of the sport and the name recognition. I don't know how many people 10 years from now are going to remember if Chase Elliott won the title, but his team didn't win the owner's title. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, not really. I mean, you brought up a good point. You know what I mean? I mean, it's important to the organization and it's important, but
it's important for money.
Absolutely. But
I was going to say money would be the big factor there.
Yeah, but all the recognition, it's the driver's championship because it's the driver, the team, the crew chief. It's the team. You know what I mean? So I agree with you, Tyler.
What about you, Dom?
Man, I got to think too, like you guys bring up a great point with the money. There's a lot of money tied with that owner's championship too. But yeah, let's say even 25 years from now, unless you're a really diehard fan, you're probably not going to remember Oh yeah, the Cup Series Championship 2022. That was split between a different driver and owner. I just don't see that being the recollection, but I
No.
do see it where people are going to remember the driver. And I do think in a money aspect, that owner's title is very important. And I do agree with you, Tyler. I think Hendrick's going to divvy up their best resources for that 5 and 19.
Real quick, Dom, do you see any scenario in the future where they look at these situations and say, why don't we do the owner's points? Why don't we just have the driver's points? And, if you are, if Chase Elliott wins the championship, then the 9 team is the owner's champion. You're like, why do we have to have these 2 separate titles?
I can see a scenario maybe if we're not having a charter system, but I think because of the charter system and points are already tied to those charters, I don't see it going away anytime soon. And I think the only reason this is really in the spotlight, because we had the 45 team make the owner's points title. We had the same with Chase Elliott advancing, or I'm sorry, Kyle Larson's team advancing. I believe Ryan Blaney's team did not make the owner's championship, so they're going to finish 17th in owners points, so they won't make that money, right, with the owners. But I think we're only seeing this get spotlighted because we've seen it in trucks, we've seen it in Xfinity, but we haven't seen this in the Cup Series in what, 60 years. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of attention on it. I don't see NASCAR changing this, David.
Interesting. A couple more drivers to talk about. Let's talk about Joey Logano now. 22 team. They've had a sneaky good season. I mean, totally under the radar. Nobody has talked about Joey Logano all year, and he's been running up front. Ford as a whole, and David would know this too, has not been that great. I mean, they've had a down year. But Joey Logano has been the one constant in that entire Ford camp in all 3 series. David, watch out. Joey's been in these situations. He can get the job done. I wonder, though, about the backing, though. I do question, does Penske and Ford have enough to compete with the best of the other 3 organizations with Gibbs, Hendrick, and Trackhouse here? I think they're the weakest of the 4 teams here.
Well, I would agree with you. If you really just looked at performance and how the season's gone, I would say that Joey Logano probably the weakest link of these 4 championship contenders. But that being said, you can't ever count out Joey Logano. I mean, he's a champion, former champion. Roger Penske, you're talking, when I think of Roger Penske, I think of just winner, champion, winner, you know what I mean? And you can assure, you can rest assured that that organization and Ford, they're doing everything in their power to make sure that Joey's going to be the champion. And it only takes that one race. I just think about Phoenix on the Cup side. The Hendrick organizations, to me, has been strong over the last 10 years or even longer there. You know what I mean? But man, it's that's what makes it exciting. You know what I mean? You can't ever count out Roger Penske, Joey Logano. I mean, like you said, what'd you say? The sneaky, what'd you call him?
I said he's had a sneaky good season.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how good he is and how strong that organization is, but you can never count them out, and man, week in and week out, Joey Logano's got a lot of speed and he's up there, and it's going to be interesting, man, but you can't count them out, but like we said earlier, I think Seabell and Chase Elliott are our favorites, but man, that's what makes the last race so interesting, and we're all on pins and needles and just anxious to see how it's all going to turn out, because it's going to be a hell of a war, that's for sure.
Yeah, Dom, what do you think of Joey's chances on Sunday?
I think he's had the longest time. Well, let me take that back. The entire organization has had the entire 3 weeks here to prepare, because they won the round of 8 opener at Las Vegas. So in theory, right, David, they would be the most prep team in comparison to anybody else, because nobody else was locked in based on any kind of victory. So I think yes, I do agree with you, Tyler. Ford has fallen off this year and they haven't been the best. Joey Logano's been that formidable driver. they've had the longest time to prepare in relation to this championship four. So I think that makes up to maybe some of the preparation we would have seen with Trackhouse or Hendrick or with Joe Gibbs Racing. They've had a long time knowing, almost a month, we're racing for a championship come November 5th.
Yeah, they have. It's very interesting to see. And then Ross Chastain, the youngest of these four drivers left, going for this championship. We talked about the move that he made and all that. I'll say this. Although it's been a while since Ross has won, just the fact that he will do anything makes him such a threat. I mean, you literally, as David would say, you can't count him out. This is going to be the X factor of this whole deal. If Ross is still in the top 10, if he still has a shot, what is he going to do, David? I mean, that's with the Ross effect, if you want to call it that, is going to be lingering this entire race if he's still in contention here. He is, I would have put him as the first or second favorite, but he's going to have a chance here.
He's definitely going to have a chance. He's been so exciting to watch. I mean, it's just amazing. But, we talk about the consistency of Chase Elliott. And in my mind, the guy that's always in the top 10 is Ross Chastain. You never see him outside the top 10. That team's had a lot of speed. And, man, the challenges that they have overcame, again, like you said, Tyler, the fight to win, the fight that team and that driver has, anything's possible, So, man, again, it's, I've been saying you can't count him out, I mean, they have a lot of speed. They have a lot of determination, and you just look at his year he's had. I mean, I don't think all three of us would be surprised as we saw Ross Chastain as our champion. You know what I mean? Just because of what they have done all year long in the fight and the battles and how much speed they've had. So, man, it's hard to. It's hard to kind of rate these teams, but man, you got four really strong organizations and four really determined drivers and teams. It's just going to be a hell of a war, you know what I mean? And but you can assure yourself, because we see it week in and week out, you can't count Ross Chastain out. I think he's got just as good a chance as any of the other three.
Okay, so before we move on and do some notes, around the room, who is going to be the champion on Sunday? Let's start with Dominic.
Well, I think when we look back on this show, we're either going to be like, wow, you were spot on, or damn, you were totally off, Dom. I'm going Joey Logano to be a two-time champion come Sunday.
Two-time champion. Okay. I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. I think Chase Elliott has been the most consistent. He's won at Phoenix before. The 9 team knows what it takes to get the job done. I'll go with Chase Elliott to win the title, and ultimately walk away with the championship. And I think his teammate Kyle Larson gets the owner's title.
You love chaos, huh, Tyler? I'm here for it.
I do like chaos. No joke. David, how about you? Who walks away with the title on Sunday?
Man, it's just so hard to choose. It's so hard to make.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick's not in it. Yeah.
No, it's hard to make that prediction. But Tyler, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. Just because the Hendrick organization, what I've seen him do at Phoenix over the years, I think we see Chase Elliott get his second championship in his young career. It's a tough one to call, but man, I do know that we're going to see a hell of a race. You know what I mean? And after watching Martinsville, I mean, you got to be glued to that television all the way to they cross this checkered flag, because there's no telling what one of them will do. You know what I mean? So it's amazing.
Do you think one of the other three get the owner's title, or do you think that 5 team of Kyle Larson walks away with it?
Man, I don't really even know much about all that. You know what I mean? But
It just had to be the highest finisher. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, highest finisher of the 4.
Yes, of the 5 car, or Logano, Ross Chastain, and Christopher Bell.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle Larson has something to prove. I think he's got a little bit of chip on his shoulder that he's not part of the deal. And if he can, that's a little bit of revenge to win the race and get the owner's championship, you know what I mean, for the owner, and him not even being a part of the Final 4. I think he got something to prove, or you got a chip on his shoulder. But man, when you talk to Kyle Larson, that's our former champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think he wants to go there and dominate the whole race and win the race. That's what's on his mind. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Hendrick take home the overall championship from an owner standpoint.
Well, so Tyler, in your scenario, right, in this championship era, the 16-man playoff field that we've always had, and at least the Cup Series, the winner of the race has gone over the championship. So you're saying Kyle Larson will finish ahead of Chase Elliott. So you're saying
No. I'm saying no. I didn't say that. David said that.
So David said
I have Chase Elliott still winning the race and winning the driver championship. I think Kyle Larson finishes second.
I got you. I misheard you. So okay. Well, I will. This part of the conversation never happened.
Yeah, I just think how competitive everybody is, how strong other cars are. We're used to seeing our champion win the final race. I'm just saying, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a non-contender win the race and our champion finishing, second or third. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that would surprise me this year with the parity we had and all the different winners. And
you're not wrong, David, but we have heard a number of drivers say over the years, when it comes to that championship race, they don't want to create any incidents. They move out of the way for those championship drivers too. So that's what also makes it difficult to think about. So
I don't know about all that now.
Real quick, before news and notes, Dom, Xfinity and Truck Championships. Ty Gibbs, Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones is going to be happy to go to Junior Motorsports. I think that whole situation, the way it's unfolded here, people actually might be rooting on Noah Gragson now.
and who would have thought that'd be the case maybe a year ago? Yeah, that's going to be wild to see what happens in Saturday's Xfinity race. But yeah, Brandon Jones, Ty Gibbs, you got to think there's obviously some bad blood there. I think there's a lot of people that are going to ensure Ty Gibbs does not walk away with that title Saturday night, David.
Yeah, I think the kid, so much talent and, been so blessed in so many different ways to have the, to have the opportunity he has and drive the race cars and drive for his grandfather. And, so we know he's got a lot of growing up to do,
I hated him comparing himself to Jesus there in that post-race interview. I'm like, really? No,
man, it's hard to, he got the trophy, but it's hard to say he's the winner of the Martinsville race because, man, that's not racing to me. Anybody can get Martinsville can go into a corner and spin somebody out. All you got to do is
need to do it.
No, but I think of Mark Martin. Mark was a gentleman racer. He was a hell of a race car driver, and he passed people fair and square. The way Ty Gibbs did it. We could all do that. That's not really winning a race. And it's hard to comprehend what he's thinking because he's already part of the championship chase and his teammate is going to be part of the championship race too. And he takes him out for no reason at all, just because he wanted to win the race, man. And so just that maneuver and being that selfish, the kid has a lot of growing up and a lot of understanding of how the sport works. To me, I can only imagine the disappointment that Joe Gibbs has, and maybe Ty Gibbs' dad, Corey Gibbs, which are great people, man, great people, but they're not driving the race cars. You know what I mean? But I think Ty Gibbs has a lot of growing up to do. And if he could rerun that race today, I'm sure the outcome would be different. But man, the and how he acted after he won the race, man, there's a lot of maturity that needs to take place in the next couple of years, and
oh yeah, I mean, he's like a young Kyle Busch on crack, I mean, he's got a lot of growing pains that
they were booing him, and somebody said that he was just kind of egging them on to boo more. I mean, man, I just the image of the Gibbs family, that's just not who that family is. You know what I mean? And it's really interesting to see it playing out like it is, but man, Brandon Jones, he handled it with class, and he's going over to Junior Motorsports next year, and you got to think that Noah Gragson is the favorite. I mean, how strong he's been all year, all the races he's won. This is his last year in Xfinity. So I wouldn't be surprised that he's my favorite, I think, to win the championship, and like you guys were saying, it'll be a miracle if Ty Gibbs even has the opportunity to even complete the whole race. You know what I mean? Because man, they're, if there is ever a payback that needs to happen, I mean, it should happen,
Right. I mean, if you're Brandon Jones, you're leaving that team anyway. He took your title chance right from you. Why would you not take him out, and cost him his chance, get even with him? I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he just knowing the Jones kid like I know him, he's a very mature young man, and he's a good racer, and he drives for a great organization. And the way he handles himself, he's just a class act. I'd be surprised to see him retaliate. I don't think he will, because that's not who he is as a person, as a race car driver. But if anybody deserves to be retaliated against, it is definitely Ty Gibbs.
Yeah. Dom, real quick, truck championship. What's going on there?
So the truck championship will be decided on Friday night. Zane Smith is making his third championship 4 appearance, third straight. He's finished runner-up the last 2 years. Ben Rhodes will be there. Ty Majeski with his 2 wins in the round of 8 put him in the championship 4, as well as Chandler Smith making his first championship 4 appearance. Guys, it's going to be a great race on Friday night. I got to ask you first, Tyler, who takes that truck title?
I think Zane Smith's time has finally come. And the future is bright for that young man. He's going to be something special. I like Zane Smith a lot. I'll be rooting for him, and I think he'll get that done. David, what about you for that truck title?
Well, I watched the truck race there at Miami Homestead, and I was really impressed how fast Zane was. And then it was amazing that is it Ty McGlett? How you say his name, Dominic?
Majeski.
Oh, Ty Majeski. Yes, Ty Majeski.
Yeah, the 66 truck, man, he was on rails. And I was really impressed with him and how fast he was, and how he managed the race, and how he won the race. You know what I mean? And he's been really strong this year. So, to me, I believe that for myself, I think the 66 car truck's going to be the champion, but Zane Smith, anybody deserves it. Zane's such a class act too, and a great race car driver. It's, and again, it's going to come down to, it's going to be an exciting race,
Yeah, I think so. Time for our news and notes segment, which is presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter officially is the ticket resale marketplace of Worldwide Technology Raceway, where David won in 2004. Fans can also get tickets to any type of event, including sports, concerts, theater productions. TicketSmarter is committing to helping those in need by donating $1 from every transaction to various charity organizations. Head over to TicketSmarter.com, find tickets for upcoming events. That's TicketSmarter.com. Dominic, what's going on?
A couple headlines. First one, not so good news. And David, maybe you remember him or at least remember the name, but veteran NASCAR racer Mike Potter passed away this week. Mike passed away at the age of 73 years old, according to East Tennessee newspapers. Mike Potter had raced over 60 NASCAR Cup Series races, including for Roger Hamby, Jimmy Walker, and somebody you used to race for there, David, Jimmy Means, racing in as recent as 1993 at Darlington. So Mike ran a lot of Cup races over the years. He ran some Xfinity races as well. And he ran as late as 2008. He was running into his late 50s in the Xfinity series. So, yeah, Mike was from Johnson City, Tennessee, so near the Bristol Motor Speedway area. And again, 60 Cup starts, plethora starts in the Xfinity series too, and all these different people he raced for. Another legend, or not, another NASCAR driver has passed away.
Yeah, I didn't know Mike Potter, but I knew of him and watched him race and respected his ability to make it to that level. You don't make it as a professional just by the luck. He earned the right. But man, Dominic, just all the great race car drivers over the years, and certainly the last 4 or 5 years, and when one leaves us, it's sad. You know what I mean? I'm sure he's got a beautiful family, and Jimmy Means, the great Jimmy Means, my buddy. I've driven for Jimmy a couple of years, and man, he's amazing. But you just hate to see these legends, these heroes of our sport that really paved the ways over the years for all of us. Man, it's always sad when you lose anybody, a family member, a friend, or a former racer. It's sad. And again, I didn't know Mike Potter very well. I knew of him, watched him race, but man, our thoughts and prayers are with his family and kids, and hopefully he's resting in peace, but man, it's just sad that we lose another race car driver.
And Tyler too, just to kind of add to this too, some of those historic roots with Mike in the NASCAR Cup Series. He made his debut in 1979 at Bristol, again, his home track, but that was Dale Earnhardt's first Cup Series win in 79. And he made the Daytona 500. His one and only chance at the 500 was in 1992. And he drove for himself. And I think it's worth noting too, according to Jayski, that Mike is a veteran. He served in the Marine Corps. So definitely a decorated individual, and not only served our country, but got to live out a dream racing in NASCAR.
Yeah, that's a very cool story. Sad to see him pass away. I wish everybody could live forever. And certainly wish the best for him and his family there. Dom, Alex Bowman is back this week, right?
Alex Bowman will be back in the 48 car. Bowman makes his return after announcing a few days ago last week. At his home track. Ahead of the Martinsville weekend, they announced Alex Bowman will be back behind the wheel of the 48 car. Noah Gragson had been filling in over the last several weekends, starting at Talladega Superspeedway. Gragson filled in for 5 races, but Alex Bowman is cleared medically to return to the driver's seat at his home track. He is from Tucson, Arizona, and it looks really good to hear and really awesome to see that he's going to finish out the year in his car.
David, with as much as we talked about with injuries and such this year, that's a step in the right direction. Glad to see Alex back in the racetrack to finish out the season.
Man, that's such great news, these concussions that the drivers are getting, and seeing what Kurt Busch has been going through 3 or 4 months, and but getting some good news from somebody that had a concussion, that's gone through all the protocols and is getting back into competition. Man, I couldn't be happier for him. I'm sure Alex is excited to get back into race car and run the final race of the year. I mean, you think about Alex Bowman. I mean, he was part of the championship. He was part of the playoffs, and to have a wreck at Texas and receive a concussion, and that injury or that concussion, to me, it was pretty serious to step out of the race car. I don't know how many races it's been. I think 4 or 5 races, might even been longer. he was concerned, his team was concerned, and I was just glad to know that he's recovered from his concussion and cleared to race again. And whatever caused his concussion, I'm excited that NASCAR and Hendrick's organization, everybody, they're learning from that wreck, and as they learn and make the car safer, it's better for everybody. So excited to hear that he'll be back this weekend at Phoenix, and be cool to see him back in a championship form for next year.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That'll be great to see. Dom, an update on next year's Clash.
Okay, you're gonna have to fill me in on that one. That is off script. That is news to me. What is the news there, Tyler?
It was on the script. Check your phone next time, Dom. The Clash going to be a night race next year under the lights. There at the LA Coliseum. David, the Clash was a smashing success last year. Ratings were phenomenal, and now we're going to start it. Just push it back a little bit later so we can have the nighttime be the right time, as I think. Was that Larry Mack or DW would say,
well, the night time being the right time. I think, this year, as we watched it during the day, there was a lot of sparks and a lot of, door handle to door handle, a lot of paint swapping, you know what I mean? And to do it under the lights, prime time television, to see all the sparks, I just think it's going to enhance how crazy that race was. I didn't know that the ratings were that great, but I was surprised to hear that. But I think even this next year's Clash under the lights is the ratings are going to be, going to be even greater than they were, because man, it's kind of prime time, and you'll get to see all the freaking sparks and all the. You'd be like a Martinsville race, man, with all the tempers flaring. It was pretty exciting last year or earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Dom, it's such a great way to kick off the season. Then leading into Daytona, all three of us, we were at Daytona. That's all anybody was talking about was the Clash. I mean, to me, I love this as a build up and right before the Super Bowl and all too. I mean, really great way to start our season. And here we are, it's beginning of November. That's going to be here before we know it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that just shows how much news there had been the last few days, man. I was going back through notes now, checking. I didn't recall seeing this about the Clash being a night. That is this is my real reaction. That is awesome to hear about it. Like David saying, building on the momentum of that race and just seeing the enhancement it's going to bring at nighttime. That Coliseum so legendary, and this just adds more to that legendary status of that race. Second year in, and we're going to see it under the lights. That's pretty cool.
Let's Go Racing is presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter came aboard as the primary sponsor this year on David's 08 Ford Mustang. I want to tell you a little bit more about what they do. TicketSmarter is a national ticket resale marketplace with tickets to over 125,000 live events, including NASCAR and other forms of motorsports. Fans can get tickets to every NASCAR, Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck race throughout the season. For the best deals on tickets, visit TicketSmarter.com to get your tickets today. That's TicketSmarter.com. The first question in the inbox, and you can send us questions each and every week on Twitter and Facebook. Also email davidstarrpodcast@gmail.com. Our first question in the inbox this week comes from Ariel, and Ariel writes to David, what are you going to remember most about this season?
That's a great question. And reflecting back on it, man, how competitive it was, especially on the Cup side, the parity with this new next gen race car, all the different winners, the move Ross Chastain made obviously last week to make it into the playoffs will stick in my mind forever. But man, just how competitive not only the Cup Series was, the Xfinity Series is, and then going back to all the different winners we had in 2022. I think Dominic, you're the statistician here. I think it might be the most winners we've ever had in a season since the early 70s. I mean, but just how great the racing was, all the different winners. and definitely the Ross Chastain move to put him in the playoffs, I think I always remember where we were, what we were doing when that happened, you know what I mean? Because that was a pretty big moment. But it's been a great season of racing, how competitive everything was. And then all the new, what NASCAR has done. We just talked about it with the LA Coliseum race to kick off the season. All the changes going on in the sport and all the cool things happening, seeing North Wilkesboro come back to life for the All-Star race in 2023. I don't know. I just think it was a great year. And I'm going to remember how competitive it was and how equal it seems like the Cup Series was in 2022, more so than you've ever seen it over since I've been involved with all the different winners. But what a great year it's been.
What about for you personally, for the year you've had, David? What are you going to take away from this year?
Man, it's been a challenge for me personally. You know what I mean? I'm so blessed with great sponsors, Sam Ross, Brett Baer, and just all the different people. There's so many people and companies that make it possible for me to race, and the excitement going into the year, and the challenges that you face, and I don't know, it was such a big challenge for us with the SS Greenlight Racing and them switching over to a different manufacturer. And it's just, you expected so much more on a performance, from a performance base, the way I analyze it, we should have been so much better. But just thankful for the opportunities. I'm so competitive, and that fire burns inside of me to win and be competitive. That it still eats me up inside. People don't know it, but man, I walk around for 2 or 3 days pissed off when you're not very competitive and you don't have a good race. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just thankful to still be racing in NASCAR, making a living doing what I love to do, and man, I'm just so thankful. It's been a great year.
How about you, Dominic? What are you going to take away from this year?
So personally, professionally, or what? Personally, the best year of my life, man. Getting married, my best friend, and welcoming our son here in the coming days, man. What else could you ask for, man? Our family's growing, and God's been so good to me. I've been very blessed to have the year that I'm having, and professionally, so many cool things too, with getting to work with Jeff Bodine and advancing that book. And man, we're this close to being done, guys. I know we said that a little bit, but man, it's so cool to see how that thing progressed a lot this year. And then just getting to cover NASCAR races and work with you guys on this show on a professional aspect, a lot of fun, a lot of great things. Getting to cover the Daytona 500, cover I think 10 NASCAR race weekends in person. It doesn't get any better than that. And I love that about this country, man. You can work really hard, you catch a break here or there, like Alan Bestwick once said. You really can live out your dream, and those words couldn't speak further from the truth. Tyler, what about for you?
Oh, wait. What about the season, though? What about just on track, too?
Oh, on track, too. I got to agree with David on the parity. The 19 winners that we've had in 2022, I think that was unprecedented, seeing the comers and goers, the different drivers getting up front and leading laps. David, I felt like it was kind of like the 1990s again, like where you saw that prime NASCAR era where first through 30th, there really wasn't that much of a difference as far as the teams preparing and who could run up front and all these different people that could be players in races. And that's what it felt like. I'm sure fans that watched in the 90s would probably get that vibe watching NASCAR in 2022, at least from what I've seen, all the historical stuff I've taken a look at. What a throwback in 2022.
Yeah, for sure. Personally, this year, I, not to talk too much about myself here, but, face some adversity, face some challenges, and, overcame those things and came out better from it, and very grateful, had just a lot of change, moving out to Dallas and everything, and meeting all sorts of people along the way, and get to be, closer to David's been great, and everything that's my new job and all this, just been fantastic. So certainly grateful for the way things turned out. I'll be honest, the beginning of the year, the month of January, and those that know what I'm talking about, was a little tough. Went through some challenges, but came out better from it. I like to think I was the comeback player of the year this year, based on the way things started. But certainly grateful for how everything turned out the way it did. But on the racetrack, to me, I think this is a season that, we all kind of go back in our minds, right? And the years kind of blend together, right? I think 2022 is going to be remembered forever in NASCAR. That was the season that things changed. The next gen car, the parity on the racetrack, all the winners that we've seen, Ross Chastain's move, the Clash. This is a year that we all bookmark or point to. We say, oh, yeah, remember when that happened in 2022? It's not like, what happened in 2013 or 2014. No. We'll all be able to recall what happened in 2022. I think that's what I'll look back on for sure. Just a monumental year for the sport, as far as I'm concerned there.
Well, one of the things I'd say to keep the conversation going, good things happen to great people. You know what I mean? You guys are wonderful and you work hard and you got a lot of drive in you and you're just great people, and great things happen to great people. That's I've always believed in that. And Dominic's such a great person, and being married now to his best friend, and a baby's fixing to be here any minute now. And and Tyler, you moving to Dallas and your career taking off like it has, man. It's like, hey, nobody deserves it more than, we want everybody to succeed and to do well. And sometimes you got to put the work in, and sometimes you never know what's going to be around the corner. And is it easy? No. Is there challenges? Man, there's a lot of peaks and valleys, but you put your head down and you keep digging, and you never give up the faith or the, keep dreaming, and man, anything's possible. But I've always believed that, man, great people that work hard and have a lot of desire and a lot of drive, good things are going to happen for them. And you guys are two examples of that.
Well, thank you, David. I certainly appreciate that. It means a lot, for sure. Another question in the inbox. This one comes from Jasmine. Jasmine wants to know, David, if you could have lunch with any historical figure, past or present, who would it be and why?
Well, be kind of cool to have lunch, Mexican food with man, there's so many, but Elvis Presley be kind of cool. Can you imagine sitting down at the same table with freaking Elvis Presley, and having lunch or dinner with him, and the conversation? And I mean, I think that would just be over the top. You know what I mean?
Taking Papacitos.
Absolutely, man. And turn him on to some great Mexican food. I'm sure he had some in his time, but man, that would be one that comes to mind. Elvis Presley. Great question. How about you guys, man?
Dom's a history teacher. I'm sure he's got a lot of
there
we go.
names come to mind.
David, you'd appreciate this one from a historical aspect. I'd pick that fellow, that Jones guy that had the Summer of Jones, because it was retired in history now. So maybe that guy.
Wow, we're still going with this gag joke after all this.
No, that Summer of Jones got canceled, so we can't. You don't want to have lunch with that dude.
He's history, though, isn't he? He's a historical figure. I don't know if he's a historical figure, but he's history. So maybe no. Honestly, I think Dale Earnhardt would be so cool to sit down with. If we're going like historical people on that realm, like famous people, man, to have a meal with the man in black and just ask him about Jeff Bodine. You guys know me. I like to pry a little bit, and I like to poke people. I would like to ask Dale. So tell me about Jeff. Tell me about this. I would love to ask about Jeff Bodine the entire time.
You're not poking or you're lighting a fire underneath his bottom, dude. Hell.
Yeah, I guess I'd be going with that, man. I'd be curious if Tyler has to stay on that. So we got Elvis with David, Dale Earnhardt with you. Who do you got?
Dale Earnhardt. Man, I would love to. I'll give you two. A present name. I would love to have lunch with Charles Barkley. I think Charles Barkley would be very entertaining, would tell you whatever is on his mind.
Not
I've
terrible.
met him once, actually. I talked to him very briefly, but it was a great exchange I had with him one time in San Antonio several years ago. But he'd be one. And then like a pass figure, I would love to have a sit down with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan would have been terrific to speak with. And I mean, to go from an actor to the White House and, you know, as great of a president he was, and, you know, just all the lived experience he had, and the way that he was universally loved and respected. You know, not to go on a political tangent here, but we haven't had, you know, any type of unity as a country really since Reagan. You know, I mean, it was a unique time. So I'd love to talk to Ronald Reagan personally.
That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you have it. That's our Ask David segment for this week. Guys, before we go around the room, what's going on here this week? Dom, we'll start with you.
Man, so I was talking with my wife, and she was asking me, so I had to really think about it. Guys, I've been to the last 17 NASCAR points awarding races at Phoenix Raceway, and I knew years ago it would take a really big or a really good reason to miss that race weekend. I won't be in Phoenix this weekend. I'm missing the championship. I'm missing the first Phoenix race since 2014. But I have a damn good reason, guys. We're on baby watch, and I'm so excited for my son to be here. He could be here any day, and there's no way in heck I'm going to miss that.
So we've told Dominic that if his wife Felice is in labor,
it's okay. I'm still getting used to that fiance wife thing. Yeah,
I know. If she's in labor when we take the podcast next week, just bring your laptop to the delivery room.
there we go. Yes, from live from the maternity ward. Yes.
Yeah. I'll do the play-by-play for you. Yeah.
So are we doing a live show then, guys? Is that what you're telling me?
That's what it sounds like. If it comes to that point. Yes.
If you would have been it back when my kids were born, I couldn't even speak. I was crying so much. So
that's gonna be me, David. As they say in Spanish, llorón is the Spanish word for a crybaby. I'm gonna be crying so much.
Absolutely, man.
What about
tears of joy, man.
Yes.
What about you, David? You're off this week on the Xfinity side.
Man, Brendan Brown's back in the 08 Ford Mustang this weekend. He's trying to stay in the top 20 in points, and a little bit of the business side kind of got in the way of my last couple of races. But man, just I'm going to Phoenix to watch to see everybody be crowned champions and spend some time with some of my teammates and different people. It's going to be a great weekend of racing. Tomorrow at Texas Motor Speedway, got Peterbilt bringing about 200 people for race car rides, and be busy all day tomorrow at the Texas Motor Speedway. But man, excited about this weekend's racing, man. It's going to be over the top, and man, it's kind of sad that this is the last weekend. Our great 2022 season's coming to an end, but it's going to be an exciting weekend, and looking forward to all the racing this weekend, and looking forward to our podcast next Tuesday to talk about our champions.
Yes, certainly so. I'll be staying back here in Dallas, but certainly keeping tabs on everything that's going on for sure there in Phoenix. Should be an exciting weekend. Guys, fun show today. So much to talk about, and we'll look forward to doing it again next week as a champion will be crowned. We'll have immediate reaction and get you guys our thoughts and analysis and recap the 2022 season coming up on next week's show. As always, you can subscribe to Let's Go Racing with David Starr. New episodes out each and every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review, or don't leave us one at all. Hit that like button as well. We appreciate it as much as we can. And then also check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, also by email, davidstarpodcast@gmail.com. Well, but check the flag out on this episode for David Starr, Dominic Aragon, I'm Tyler Jones, saying so long. It's been another edition of Let's Go Racing. See you next week.